Warning, Pro Tri News is a podcast with different opinions, knowledge and possibly fake news about triathlon racing. This is not for the faint of heart. If you get offended or hurt by what is said, please stop listening and go listen to some uplifting meditation music or just go work out, then try again.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pro Tri News. I am your host, Kyle Glass, joined today by Pat and Mark. How are we doing today, boys?
Well, this is a little hectic for me because, we are recording on Tuesday and this is my work day. And so I'm going to try and flip my cell phone over. I'm not going to open up my emails and I'm just going to focus on this week's show because obviously I think we've got a fantastic recap if we look behind us, and then we've got a great week if we look forward. So I'm super pumped.
And I'm super tired. I can't actually see you on the screen, Kyle. It's a shame. I drove back 15 odd hours from the other side of Berlin yesterday, got in at 2 a.m, and then I went to work at 7 o'clock this morning. So I'm in uniform sat here. Sorry, boys. And to be honest with you, I underestimated the sheer workload that executing sub 8 would to take, and I'm pretty tired. But I'm good. It was amazing. So yeah, I'm good.
I'm currently on my lunch break from work, so we got to bang it out.
Can we talk about one non-work related, non-triathlon related thing that I think is kind of, current events, but it's worth, Mark, you made me think of it, just given your service.
Yeah.
I saw Top Gun Maverick last night and it was.
Apparently it's amazing.
It's incredible.
Mark, Kyle.
It's pretty good.
I was on. Kyle, you saw it?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it opening weekend.
Oh, I went a Monday evening showing at 6 o'clock and it was, I'm still kind of buzzing from it. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, can't recommend it enough.
Everyone says this. It's amazing. Everyone says it was just incredible.
Yeah.
It's like Talbot's favorite movie. He went opening night and he was like, "This is incredible." I've never seen a movie that is as good as the original.
That makes me less sure I'm gonna like it.
I'm telling you, normally I don't get on board on the Talbot or Kyle hype train too often, but this was I'm all aboard on this one.
Excellent. Well, hype train that I hope everyone gets involved with is Inside Tracker. Inside Tracker is a great way to measure your biometrics for everything that's going on inside your body while you're training, while you're racing, or if you're just trying to get back in shape. I know a lot of people during the pandemic kind of got outside of the groove of things. Go get your biometrics read and then kind of dedicate 4 to 6 to 8 weeks to bettering yourself, and then go back and get tested again and see if things are different, better, or worse. And kind of go from there. I'm going to get tested again here in the next couple of weeks as we end our partnership with them, just to kind of see how things have changed over the last 8 weeks since we've been partnered with them.
And I've actually arranged to get mine sorted over this side of the pond. I'm going to get some done just because I think it's something you can control and look at a little bit. So yeah, I am actually going to do it. I'm sold. I'm quite looking forward to it.
I love it.
Well, let's get into the racing from this weekend. It was kind of a big weekend of racing. We can get started, I think, with sub 7, sub 8, since Mark, you were there.
Honestly,
how was your time?
Honestly, it was utterly brilliant. I can't tell you how much fun the whole process was, from the build up, the team atmosphere, the banter between the teams, but then the camaraderie in the teams, the technicality of it, the complexity of it, the hosting, the venue, then the broadcast quality. I mean, we'll cover that, I'm sure. We've never seen the quality like that. Even Super League, not close. It was brilliant, and I was a skeptic, as we all know. I've not hidden that. I don't. It's not a comparable record. It's not pretending to be. It was a standalone event at the moment to see if something could be done, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive to watch the live stream from over here. Obviously, it was in the middle of the night, so I got back from a wedding, and I'm laying in bed. I'm trying to watch it, and then I'll fall asleep for a little bit, and then I'll wake up again, watch a little bit more. I thought the coolest part probably was the bike, even though it is the drafting thing and everything like that, and everyone kind of wants to put an asterisk there because of the bike. But watching the teams work.
Yeah, so you put an asterisk there, it's not comparable, quite clearly. But very few triathlons are comparable. You go a massive downwater swim in Cozumel, well, you can't compare it to Ironman UK. They're not even trying to compare it.
No, they're just going to the human limit.
Yeah. So as predicted, and as I said, that Joe Skipper bike train was incredible. So to give you some perspective, though, Joe Skipper averaged 305 watts for the entire bike leg, whilst not being able to break position at all, and whilst staring at a wheel in front. He said he almost got dropped towards the end. It was one of his hardest rides ever in an Ironman. Kat pushed 7 watts less than her Ironman power PB, which means that at the Ironman World Champs only, Daniela could have ridden that. All they did though was go much faster because of it. And the speed was nuts. Joe's team averaged 55.2k an hour, like 34 point something miles an hour. That madness. You got to think that. So let's talk men. Christian won. He's amazing. He's incredible. Yeah. He's sort of always going to win.
His time was 48 minutes for the swim, 3:24 for the bike, 2:30 for the run, for a time of 6:44.25.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I think Olav, and we're great bands with Olav all week, I think Olav probably has to concede that a fit Alistair Brownlee or Jan, someone like that, would have beat Christian, given the tactics used, if they were on the back of Joe's train. Because Joe lost 5 minutes base part of in the swim,
right?
Which Alistair turns into a 2-minute advantage. Suddenly Alistair's like 12 minutes ahead off the bike. Mm-hmm. So I think Olav and that they're playing it, well, this is cool. They had all these apps and they had everything built. But actually, I think that they got a little bit lucky that Joe's swim is just not what it was. But Joe committed to doing this race the Friday before. So what, like 8 days before? Madman, absolute madman.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant. His run was good. His bike was good. His swims wasn't great, but yeah, it was cool. They was just super fast all day.
I want to clarify. I re-listened because I wanted to hear everything that we said last week about sub 7, sub 8. And, I made a claim, right, that Joe's team was going to put a lap into Blumenfeld on the bike. Now, technically, he did. He was just so far behind out of the swim. He didn't overtake that. So, Mark, is it okay to say that Joe had a worse swim than we thought he would have had, than predicted?
Yeah, I think so. So I think Christian had a very clever wetsuit that had a lot of development and tech put into it that helped. And I think he was paced very well. And Alistair did their job, but they'd only got to practice the morning of. Alistair and Joe never practiced that. So I think he was helped by a little bit of tech and a bit of training on that front. And then Joe didn't have the best swim. The swim was actually quite slow. So it was actually, unfortunately, into basically a headwind, the swim. Okay. So on all the sides, the swims were actually slow. Christian swam better than a 48 because he was paced by a very good swimmer in a very thick, heavy wetsuit. So I think in a normal, calm swim, he was more like a 46. So yeah, Joe didn't swim great, but Joe, it's not his thing, is it?
And what did, obviously I thought the bike packs just looked super cool. For the people that were the pacers on the bike pack, just for the men, what were the takeaways? What was everybody saying?
They loved it, by the way.
Yeah, I bet.
These are world tour riders. This Alex Dowsett, the likes of, and he's a real gent. We should try and get him on sometime because he is so funny, really kind, nice guy. But he just loved it. They ripped around at 55 plus k an hour. They did a 57 k an hour. They were flagging a little bit. So Alex sat on the front and did an entire lap on the front on his own, banged out 450 watts after having ridden 112 miles. And he averaged 57 k an hour for like a 7-minute turn on the front. Sure.
That's insane.
As you do, boys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
The paces were averaging like 350 watts, for the entire ride. Madness, mate. They loved it. They found it really good fun. There were a couple of near crashes. Christian almost had a crash. I don't know if you saw that. There was touching wheels and stuff. And I think Dowsett also had one where, because they were doing half laps where they could swing off on the bank. Yeah. He swung off and he came to drop into the pace line. He was coming a bit fast. And he jackknifed, his bike skipped, and he came in. But for him riding World Tour Peloton, he didn't even remember it happened. I looked at it and thought it was incredible. It was such a near miss. He didn't even register.
No, the thing is, Mark, and it's been a long time since I did a bike race, but I remember this is you have so many moments when you're racing your bike where you go, ooh, had that gone a little bit differently, that could have been bad. Yeah. But that's just something that happens. And so I think about that. That's something that Alex wouldn't, after the 3 weeks that he just did, he wouldn't have even been fazed by that.
Yeah, it's cool. He was funny all week when he in the press conference, he was like, yeah, I just had a good endurance block for the last 3 weeks, ready for sub 7. It's just cool. And then they cracked the run. The Kenyans that were running they were the nicest guys at this race. There was 2 Kenyans running for Christian. Only one of them ran on a day. Just so friendly and funny in the hotels all week, just loving being there, full of energy. Both both run a 2:06 marathon, by the way. That'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess
you want to tell our listeners as well, like how many Ks they average per week running?
Yeah, like 210, 220K a week they're banging out is what their running is. They do sort of 30K a day. Most of it's really easy. So like they run some 4-minute K, just steady runs, which obviously when you're racing at 2:58, 4 minute is really easy. It's like me running a 5:30K. So to our listeners, like just reinforces this notion that lots of your running should be easy. But they did they went out for a steady run one morning, did 15K at 3:20s, came in like nothing. Absolutely nothing. They were so nice. And then Joe, did we see Joe's sprinkler man with his?
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
He had a backpack with ice water. It was a weeder, weed spray, and they were spraying him the whole time. Get this, the Norwegians complained about it. Oh, because effectively he's getting a shower as he's moving on. Just because you didn't think of something, like they thought of everything else. They made a bike for the whole thing. They had 2 years to plan it, and Joe's lot came up with one thing they didn't, and they complained.
That's pretty weak sauce.
Olaf took it. We gave him some shit for complaining though, and he took it. He's a nice guy. He's got really good banter.
Yeah,
honestly complain.
The low tech. It's like, bro, it's $25 at the hardware store. They pulled one over on you, dude. Come on.
I know. Roll with it, lads.
Yeah.
It was cool. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's gold standard. That.
I thought the other cool thing was KDEX. Everyone on Christian's team, everyone was on the KDEX, which I thought that was pretty legit.
I want to give the audience probably an understanding of how hard that is to do actually in this current climate. So I don't think people can appreciate the supply chain shortage that has absolutely clobbered the bike industry. And given some of my touch points that I have in this industry with cycling teams, to get the 7 or 8 KDEX bikes with the components, with the wheels, this is no easy feat these days. So shout out to Christian and his partners for getting everyone tooled up because that's a massive investment.
I completely agree. And their mechanics helped me out during the week. They had a couple of KDEX mechanics there. They were always helpful. It was it was a very supportive environment. And it was kind of showcased on what like triathlon's all about. Everyone helped each other. There was, can we borrow this? Can we lend that? It's no drama. Yeah. I'm not sure if I had any money to spend in the world. That's the bike I would pick. I'm not sure how fast it actually is. So when it goes to market, I'm not sure I'd be riding it personally.
There's a couple other things that are interesting to me about that. I want to spend a little bit and just kind of pat Joe Skipper on the back for a minute and say like, dude, to come within 3 minutes of Christian, given the week's notice that you had, pretty mind blowing. And as Talbot would say, hats off. I'm going to tip my hat to him because, when he got past and there was, 20 some Ks left in the run, I thought, oh man, like this could make for some ugly TV. He could just trot in now. And I think he gave it his best effort and I think he should be applauded for that. And it made for a nice event.
Yeah. And he joins Kat's team in the after party as well. So a lot of Nicola's team rode home from the track straight afterwards. Christian had his tri-suit on. He put a new tri-suit on and he sipped a bottle of water. And the 2 British teams, well, one of Kat's pacemakers had to get taken home to be put to bed at 6 o'clock because she got too drunk too quick. Joe Skipper put away about 9 beers at the after party. And it was just like that horrible cliche Brits on holiday. Yeah, like white string vests and tattoos everywhere. It was so bad. It was really good. And then on to the women's race. It was exciting. Like that made for great viewing. They got out the swim. Nicola set out quite fast. We had a little SJ Walker who, Sarah Jane Walker, South African ITU style athlete, did an amazing job on the swim and just crept the pace up. Kat took the lead. Then Nicola's team rode much better than I thought they would. I was really, really impressed by the individual efforts in her team. And they held the gap to about 4 minutes and they even reeled a little bit back at the end. Nicola rode a road bike, as we know. Like, Kat pushed a lot of power on her time trial bike. Nicola must have pushed real good power. Go on.
I mean, I'm still just in shock. I'm looking at these breakdowns of their times right now, right? And again, I go back to the previous show. We thought Kat would be pushing it to break 4 hours. We thought that was kind of the dream scenario.
Yeah.
she goes and takes 10 minutes off of it.
Do you know something that changed as well? So we were wrong. So do you remember I said, and we all assumed the limiting factor would be the pacers?
Yeah.
Well, the only team I think where the limiting factor was the athlete was Kat's team on the bike. So we didn't do that right necessarily. There's things I would change. We'd keep the same riders. We'd probably go with like more of a one pace line strategy and pull people out. And we would probably have to practice more time rolling the wheel. Dowsett gave me some good advice on how you do that afterwards. But Kat was actually having to reel her girls back. Like, hold. Because a couple of theirs, like we messed up a change. So we went to pull a team in, but the team coming out wasn't ready. And it was two ladies on the front. One of them had already gone in the pit. So Kat's then only got two girls in front. And they just made the decision. It was just great to see. They went like, we've got to stay out. We've got to ride 5.8K. We thought we're coming off. And that was one of the fastest laps we rode. They just got back on and drilled it. And I'm really proud of that. That sort of decision making.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I'm shocked, obviously, that Nicola's team, again, I mean, what can you say? Like they exceeded expectations. I would have, Mark, all due respect, I would have never thought that Kat would outswim Nicola. But so Kat really exceeded expectations there. But then for the way that Nicola and her team rode, I mean, guys, they did an Ironman and finished within 62 seconds of each other. It's really that simple. It's pretty cool,
Yeah, I think it was 2 minutes in the end between the girls, but it was like, oh yeah, maybe it was that close, yeah. And then the run was so cool. Like Kat got run down. Nicola went out at 2:37 pace, and given what we know about like how hard the bike actually was, it wasn't like running fresh. It was running hard.
Right.
She went out at 2:37 pace, but we knew as she was catching, like the gap, the rate of catch was slowing down. And Kat never fades, like just doesn't fade. So if you fade in the second half of a race, you tend to lose to Kat in a way. That's what she's very good at. I don't know how, by the way. I've got no idea how she does that. And it's when she went past and Nicola just didn't look great and that gap didn't go out. And we had India Lee on track, who we've talked about as an individual athlete. She was the only pacer that swam, biked and run. Her pacing on the run, I didn't know this, Pat, as well. It's something as well I would learn. Run pacing is a learned skill that some people have learned and they're good at. Now, I'd underestimated the value of that. Yeah. And it's the idea of where you position yourself naturally for the wind. You're moving, you're not having to be asked. And when the athlete says up, like that ability to increase by 1 or 2 seconds per K is really hard. I didn't realize. And Indy can do it. And the other pacers couldn't do it because I couldn't do it. Lots of people that haven't practiced it couldn't do it. So luckily, when we made the pass on Nicola again, we had Indy on track who up, and she can up it by 2 seconds a K, and she was beautiful at it. So Indy was like our rock star a little bit. And Kat ran back past her to take a win. Another completely even splits for a 2:46 run.
Look, I think like in closing on this whole event, I think obviously they smashed the broadcast. I think I would have never imagined that both teams would break their barriers that were set, right? So we had both teams go sub-7, both teams go sub-8, and then they both finished within a handful of minutes of each other. And so I think, and the weather cooperated. So I just think on kind of all accounts, the stars aligned and this event was cool. The only thing that I kept thinking about, and I thought about this with Tri Battle too, I wish they would have started at, we'll call it like 12 noon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
For the time for the States, yeah.
So you get, because obviously the viewing numbers were okay. They were good. They just, it's like, I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
but you guys get most of the viewing. Most of the big events are in your time zone.
Of course.
Basically.
No, of course. It's I'm not a fan of European football, right? But I appreciate that it's been accessible in the States on Saturday and Sunday mornings because you guys are playing in the evening and we're able to watch in the morning.
And the event was finished by 3 o'clock. So why couldn't they have started at 8, 9, 10?
I think that's something to think about if you're doing these big one-off events. And that was always what was cool with World Triathlon, right? We could start Hamburg at 2 o'clock, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it would hit the European market and the US market.
Yeah, and I actually completely agree. The one reason you don't do that is that Emily Meakin, one of Kat's pacers, was able to get completely mortal wasted and try to lap dance the billionaire by 6 o'clock because we finished at 3.
That's right.
So shout out to Emily for being a complete legend. And
That's right.
when she was dancing with Christian whilst he sat there completely sober. That was my favourite. So that's a perk. It means the after party is better. But hey, let's move on from sub 8.
Yep,
I thought
perfect.
it was brilliant.
Big race from this weekend was Ironman Hamburg. Big victory for Laura Phillip. Threw down a 54-minute swim, 4:30 bike, and a 2:45 run for an 8:18:20, 7 seconds off Chrissy Wellington's Ironman world record time. Also, nothing to shake a stick at. Second place was Chelsea Sodaro with a 54 swim, 4:35 bike, and a 3-hour marathon for 8:36, which is the second fastest Ironman debut behind only Laura Phillip at Barcelona 2018.
Barcelona, yeah. And to be fair, Laura Phillips Barcelona in 18, I think even she would say was quite bike assisted. There was a lot of pro men cutting around. She's certainly a much better athlete than she is now. That Chelsea Sodaro debut is really wicked fast.
Kyle and I talked about this offline. How big of a warning shot was this for Kona?
It's not. Well, it is, but it's nothing we don't know. Like, bearing in mind, I say this from Kat. Like, she did this in Finland. She did this in Austria.
Yeah.
You know, like in races like this, where there's not a massive field and it's a fast course-ish, Laura Phillips utterly incredible. And Laura Phillips will be utterly incredible if she's in Kona. I just look forward to seeing her there. And I imagine no one else looks forward to seeing Laura there more than Laura. But it's like an amazing result on a small field again. And I really want to see Laura do it when it's... Because Laura could have taken sub 8. I imagine that was offered to Laura. She could have chosen that. Mm-hmm. But she needed to get her Kona qualifying. I'm not knocking Laura. I just really want to see something big against big names.
At a tier 1 race.
Yeah. And not to knock Chelsea Sodaro, by the way, but she's on debut. Like,
in a different
situation.
Different situation. Okay.
So this would be a hard question. This would be a hard question for Mark because the amount of DMs that we got of Hamburg was more impressive than sub 8.
I mean, on paper, like maybe, but so what's interesting about it, right, is how close that race would have been. So they swim about the same together. So Kat and Laura come out the swim together. Yeah. You have to think that Laura can hold Kat and vice versa on the bike from what we've seen. Mm-hmm. And Laura's run was about 500 meters short. So we're looking at all the Strava. So she's got a couple of minutes there, or a minute and a half, say, which means they're basically running the exact same pace, having swam the same, and they can bike the same, and they can basically run the same. If you have to put them side by side on that day's performance, hey, Laura's, sure, you can argue Laura's is more impressive, or you can argue Kat's. I don't really care. They didn't race each other. Yeah. But what I would say is it would have been a mighty exciting race had they raced each other. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Laura's wicked. If people want to enjoy that more, then I've got no drama with that.
Yeah.
Fair play. Sport.
Yeah, Kyle, I think that was a fair question. And Mark, I think the way that you summed it up was fantastic. So yeah, good on you both for that.
Can I tell you one thing I did for sub 8, just by the way, because you'll be proud of me?
Yeah.
The Cats team's out first onto the bike, and they had a car with a number board on the top of the car to lead them from the swim to the stadium. And it was sat about 30 meters in front of Cat's team. The team behind had nothing. I got on the mobile and phoned the race organisers from the car and told them to phone the car and make it pull away. And the car pulled away. And after the race, people were like, why did you do that? I thought, because I come on this show and we moan about cars interfering every day.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just couldn't, if we had one viewer messaging being like, mate, you were sat in the car right behind. Why didn't you say something? So I was like, I'm loving this draft we're getting here right now. This is like 50 watts. But so I had to phone Trent and I had to say, mate, you've got to pull this car away. It's taking the piss.
That's awesome.
Gutted to do it, boys.
Yeah.
Anyway, so awesome. Hamburg was great. Laura Phillip, she probably goes into Kona as the favourite again.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Is she going to do any of the presume she'll do Edmonton,
so.
Dallas? Like
she'll the PTO money's great, isn't it? You've got to bang it. So that'll be, I imagine she'll score monstrous points for that. She'll get her 10% bonus on top of that. She'll probably move to be number 1 in the world. And then she's going to need to do some 70.3s. Yeah, okay. So I imagine she'll pick up one of those with a 5% point bonus, then maybe wait for Kona, and she's done for the year. Number one, probably. Yeah.
All right, guys, we still got a lot to rip through.
A lot to go through.
And you've not got long, Pat. We know you've got work to do, mate.
We got Escape from Alcatraz happened this weekend as well. They shortened the swim because of the fog, and then it pissed rain the entire day.
Sorry, I didn't see this. Did Eric Lagerstrom win?
He did.
Yes.
He did get the dub.
Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to it. He did win.
Yeah.
Oh, we've been waiting for that. Good for Eric.
Yeah, big one. Yeah, 7-year gap on those wins for Eric. So yeah, he's a fan favorite. He's a co-host favorite of our show. So yeah.
I mean, I've never met the guy. Like I just like his journey, and I admire what he does for his partner, and then still racing really well. Like that's cool. Really good.
No, yeah, it's Eric Lagerstrom and Paul Finlay are amazing. So congrats. That'd have been a fun weekend.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And
so
then
he got first. Second place was Jason West. Third place, Greg Harper, who led out the water, which was kind of a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, good swim.
Ben Canute got fourth. The women's race, first place was Jackie Herring. Second place, Danielle Lewis, who caught Jody Stimpson at the closing mark for third place.
That's. I mean, as far as as far as the people we like to support and be fans of, they're pretty solid results. We love a bit of Jackie Herring, Jody Stimpson. Shame she got caught, but hey, I don't know. Lewis and great for Lagerstrom. Cool.
So 2 interesting takes. One, Eric Lagerstrom brought Ben Canute's reign of terror to an end at Escape from Alcatraz. He also, back in the day, brought Andy Potts' reign to an end.
Ah, cool. Good for Eric.
So
there we go.
Eric can be known as the Kingslayer from now on. I did see a comment from Ben's wife on his Instagram that he was quite sick leading up to the race. So we're hoping that he starts to feel better and heals up quick. But
I mean, Ben races an awful lot, doesn't he? Ben races so much that it's cool because there's no way Ben can race as much as he does and start everyone in peak form in perfect condition. So what you can say about Ben is he's probably one of those guys I quite like. They get on the start line at 95% and they give it a whirl. They roll the dice.
Yeah,
fair play, mate.
Yep.
Races this weekend. We got Challenge Gerards Bergen. I've been getting ripped for not pronouncing my names correctly, so hopefully I did.
Someone gave it. By the way, one of the hot takes was actually a really, really good idea, and there's a way they could do this. It was the PTO to do a name pronunciation guide. But
they could do all the work for us.
No, but what they could do is, the little photos they have of each athlete.
Yeah.
You could, when they record them next year, you could click on the photo and it could just be a video of the athlete saying their name.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Katrina Matthews. Hi, I'm Guetes Red Fluffy.
Like what they do in the NFL.
That we just butcher. That's quite cool.
Yeah.
So PTO, if you're listening, which you're not, that would be a really good idea. Nice one from our listener.
Another big one in the USA, 70.3 Eagleman. It will be the return of Sarah True officially. She said that flights were too expensive to go to Alcatraz, so she's going to be racing at Eagleman in Maryland, and then also Sophie Watts, who was injured a good portion of the season last year. And then for the men, you have Ben Hoffman, Cody Beals, that's either got first place or second place every year he's raced. And then probably Big Metz will be in the mix as well.
Cool. Metz is due a decent race this year, isn't he? He's had a bit of a probably a bit of a struggle this season, I would say, for Metz. He probably could do with a win or at least a result to pick up morale, I reckon.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like a sprinter, Pat. When you don't bag a win in the first half of the season, it starts to get a little bit tough.
Yeah. You need a little Mr. Momentum on your side.
Yeah, definitely.
We got 3 big ones this weekend. We'll start it off with Ironman Cairns. Ironman Cairns is pretty big prize purse, $150K with 3 slots to Kona. The men's race, you have Max Newman, who's 2-time defending champion. Braden Curry, who's racing, that's won the race 2 times as well. Tim Van Berkel, who's on a 2-race win streak and has placed second here 2 times in a row. Sam Appleton for his second Ironman ever.
Wow.
And then the return of Pete Jacobs.
Okay, that's a decent field, isn't it?
Wow.
Those front 4 are good.
I was gonna kind of signal, Kyle, that we could kind of like ram through Ironman Cairns, but then you just rattled off those 5 names, and I think Mark and I, our jaws were kind of on the floor. Like,
It's a fun race. I think our jaws were on the floor as well. Didn't Kyle do our statistics on our listeners and realize we actually have quite a lot of listeners in Australia?
Yes,
so we should probably show this.
We got to spend a little time there. No,
I don't know how they still listen after what a complete douchebag I've been. But hey, yeah, that's cool. Braden Curie. I mean, surely, after the form he showed in St. George, you would have to think he's favourite. Max Newman didn't have a good race there, but he's very capable of something. No Josh Hamburger.
No Josh Hamburger. He's in Europe.
Oh, yeah, of course he is. Yeah, cool.
He's in Roth, I believe.
Oh, that's cool. If there's no live stream or anything, is there? But I'll tune him to the tracker for that because I reckon that could get quite exciting. But I'm going Braden Curie for that.
Yeah, easy.
Should be on Facebook Watch, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Oh, cool.
Okay, women's side?
Women's side, we have Sarah Corrali, who won Ironman Australia last month by the skin on her teeth. And then Kylie Stimson, who's the defending champion. And then the return of Radka Karfeld. So
I like Radka.
Yeah,
Radka Karfeld's cool.
Cool.
She's she was a very good 70.3 athlete. Has she ever had a good Ironman?
She DNF this will be her second Ironman. She DNF'd her Ironman debut in 2020.
Because she was a very good 70.3 athlete. When Kat was starting out, Radka was sort of on the scene, and she was one of those ones. There's no way I can beat her. She's really good. Yeah. So that's cool. And obviously, her husband's one of the OGs of the Australian sport.
Yeah. So, fun fact, Radka also in 2018, 2019 was on the podium 20 out of the 23 times she raced.
Unreal.
You can cherry pick races all you want, but if you're on the podium in 20 out of 23 races, that's pretty impressive.
That's really impressive,
that's cool.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's right. I'm glad I was right. She is a good athlete. That's cool.
So it'll be fun to see her try her hand at the Olympic distance. Wouldn't be surprised if she wins.
Because it's not like running the 100 meters at 70.3. So much can go wrong.
Yeah.
Like so many things can go wrong to be that consistent. Yeah. Anyway, let's go. What's next?
Next is Ironman Des Moines. We have a $150,000 prize purse as well. 3 slots to Kona since it is North American Championship.
Is it?
Yeah.
I knew it was big prize money. I hadn't clocked that it was the championship. Got it.
And Mark, I'm not sure if you've been to beautiful Iowa in June before. It will be incredibly humid. It can be insanely windy. And, we've had delays here before because of thunderstorms and crazy weather. So this, while it will not probably be very exciting from a terrain standpoint, it's undulating in Des Moines.
Right.
This could be a very challenging day that I actually think this venue could mimic Kona conditions more than anything between the heat, humidity, and the wind possibilities.
It gets that warm.
100%. Yeah. It has.
It's quite north. It's like on the middle, slightly north of the center.
Yes. If you were previewing races, I think most people from outside of the United States would think that this is a northern hemisphere race that doesn't have a propensity for insane heat. And this is quite the opposite. It can be, Kyle, you probably have a better understanding of if this will continue to be an Ironman venue for the future, but
so it was 70.3 last year, and then now it's an Ironman this year, and then I believe the North American Championship is going to rotate between all the different venues.
Whoever wins this race, there's no gifts here in Des Moines.
No.
Is this honestly the start list though?
Yeah, it's pretty weak.
For 150 grand, you can tell how much is going on in our sport now. That's the start. No offense, I'm sorry if that's offensive, but I mean, Camworth's not going to be doing that, is he?
No, Cam's
he's got to go back
on
to
the flight back to Europe after.
So Tim O'Donnell, Andrew Lopez, Jesper Svensson, Matt Hansen's on the start list. I'm not sure.
It's a home race for Matt Hansen, so him and his family are doing that race together.
Matt Russell, Pedro Gomes.
It's
not exactly
Trevor Foley. Don't forget
about our boy Trevor.
I know. I was going to say it, but I didn't want to just sound like I was just shouting him up because he came on the podcast. It's not. I mean, there's good athletes there, but it's Cairns is almost a stronger field, and they've only got athletes from one country racing. That's a lot of prize money to go between. Not a huge amount of people, and there's the women's field. Sky's back on the start line. Great athlete, hugely credible. Els Weiser, I mean, she was at sub 8.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not
I saw
sure.
her.
She's
I
on
don't
a
think
lot of
she's-
start lists over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't think
So-
she's racing. I mean, if she is, she was in. I saw her on Monday morning.
So Kyle and Mark, I mean, obviously, if you're on the men and women's side, Kyle, how many are they giving out 3 Kona spots as well for the women's race?
Correct. 3 and 3.
I mean, there's going to be some gifts handed out here along with the prize money.
Yeah, I mean, you have to watch Lindsay Corbin. I'm sure she's looking to bounce back after a tough day in St. George. Leslie Smith, her Ironman debut. Melanie McQuaid and Jenna Nett have kind of thrown down some good Ironman times, so I wouldn't be surprised if they threw down
But
here.
to go 3 there when you've got Sky, is Rennie Kiley racing?
No, she is not.
No. Kelly Filner's already got a Kona queue. I mean, they're like Lindsay Corbin if she's there, Leslie Smith, Susie. I don't think Susie's racing. Jen Abbott. Like there are names there that deserve Kona slots, so it's not going to go to someone we haven't heard of. At least there's competitive athletes going deep enough, but it's a small field for a regional champ.
Yeah, of course, and
I think this will continue to happen with regional champs.
Yeah, of course.
With more and more PTO races, this regional champs thing will just lose its status,
which is tough, especially because it's decent money, but with the PTO races, it's $1 million prize purse rather than $150K prize purse. So,
yeah.
One last big race, WTCS Leeds draft legal race.
Cannot wait.
Pretty excited to see Vincent Louis can kind of turn the ship around after his race in Yokohama.
I mean, a lot of the hitters are here, aren't they? It's a great course. The course, as we said, is slightly different. We've got a Nib Duffy battle. Sorry, not Nib. Georgia Taylor Brown. GTB was out in sub 8 doing some commentary. She seems happy, looking forward to race. Near Backlund, Casper, Rappaport, Spivey, really good. Hard run course though, so a runner's race. So it's like a Nib, I think a George Taylor Brown Duffy sort of race.
And it's a sprint, so it's going to be fast. Yeah,
super fast.
And okay, one, I think obviously Leeds is a super cool place to go for triathlon. It is a triathlon capital, given that the Brownlees and that's where they live.
But it's like a super cool place for triathlon if you know that you're part of the scene. So if you're an American tourist, right, and you want to go and do triathlon in Europe, don't necessarily go to Leeds. It's a nice place. It's not like going to Boulder where there's cycling coffee shops and everything, and it's like it's part of the culture. But it is like our performance hub.
And then finally, I do want to touch on this again. I want the viewers need to be watching these relays, I think, with a little more discipline in what they're trying to see, because this is how they're going to make world championship teams. This is how they're going to make Olympic teams. So if you're an athlete and you're ranked outside of the top 2 and you get called up from your country to do one of these relays, this is your time to shine. And so I would like to say for the weekend, I think there's more importance if you're probably one of the big 4 or big 5 countries, if you're US, Great Britain, France, New Zealand, even Australia. This relay this weekend, it has more weight and importance than the individual race.
So if you're saying if you call yourself a bit of a triathlon fan and you want to learn who's up and coming, who might make the cut, who's trying to step through, this relay is actually something really good to watch.
That's right.
Interesting. I'll tune in. I probably wouldn't have watched it until you said that.
Yeah, and I think and they will look at performances. So let's just say we'll use a guy like we've had on in the past, Aaron Royal. He's probably not ranked the first or second individual for Australia. Yeah. However, he's very dominant in the relay itself. So if he gets a call up to do the relay, he's going to give his 100% of his effort for the relay and not the individual race, because that he will be reliant on funding and comm games or future Olympic spots based on that relay performance.
Yeah. And if you're a US guy like Seth Ryder, I believe last year was their like earmarked guy for the relays.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. We got anything else coming up?
21 relay teams racing the relay on Sunday. So that's kind of it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's cool. I think
also something I tried to get Chelsea's input on. This is the first series race in we don't know how long, that there hasn't been a single Canadian representation on the women or the men's side.
Wow. Is that because they're going through a bit of turmoil or what's going on?
I would imagine. And then I think if, I don't know the exact reasons, but I think the short answer is yes, Mark.
Yeah, they've got this is higher level management coaching turmoil, basically.
And then, obviously, if you miss a couple of years of development, you don't have athletes that were taken up from the Conti Cup to the World Cup that are actually capable of doing the WTCS
because you've not nurtured and looked after your talent.
That's right.
How sad is that? Hey.
Yeah. So that's for a country obviously that's quite small, but has had fantastic Olympic performance, right? And they've had a gold medal. They've got a silver medal. It's a shame.
I mean, we're talking about an affluent sporting nation who have athletes in every single discipline of the Olympics, and they haven't got a single person at World Cup.
That's right.
That's sad.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I think that's all we got.
So hot takes. I haven't got many. Just so people know, because I love you jumping in and supporting. Joe Skipper bantered about me on their podcast that if you want to listen to a actually Tom Oosterdek said if you want to hear about results and know what's going on, tune into Pro Tri News. They cover that really well. Thanks. Joe Skipper then said if you want to listen to something before you go to sleep to get a good night's sleep, listen to Mark Matthews on Pro Tri News. Right, guys, I love you jumping to support. It's really cool. It's very sweet. And he's mainly right, but we are actually quite good friends with these guys. It is just banter, so don't take offense on our behalf. We do, Joe is a hilarious guy, and he's actually not that wrong either.
If you want to get a good ab workout, just go listen to Triathlon Mockery because you'll just laugh the entire time you're listening to their podcast.
Or get deeply offended at some point, but one or the other, it'll be an emotional roller coaster, and what they are very good at, by the way, is those YouTube videos that they were banging out.
The ones for St. George were incredible.
Yeah, and I think I bet you'll see some good stuff come out of Sub 8. Oosterdek was there with his cameraman doing some good work there. So
can I share a personal hot take, and I kind of need some good luck for the week?
Oh, go on.
Tomorrow I have to fly to Switzerland because on Friday I'm taking the UCI agent exam. So if I want to ever have athletes in the pro cycling world on the world tour or the pro continental stage, I have to have this accreditation. So
I didn't know that was a thing for cycling. I knew there was the football agents accreditation. I didn't know that was a thing.
So I'm putting out a little personal accountability, but I do need some people to just send me good energy on
have you revised?
Friday. I've made over almost 100 flashcards. I've been studying them, but
have you actually?
I'm terrified, Mark. I can't.
Have you got like highlighter pens, flashcards?
No, this is like a for real. This is a for real deal that I've got that I need to pass. So there is not this level of accreditation that's necessary in the sport of triathlon. But if I ever want to have a cyclist, a proper one, I need to get this done.
You have your flashcards right next to you. Can you show them to us?
I've got them right over here. Yeah. So, I mean, here's an easy one.
Oh my God, he actually has.
No,
of
course.
This is adorable.
Okay.
I've not seen this since I was 16.
No, of course.
These
are my flashcards.
I couldn't do this now. I couldn't.
So each world tour team must employ how many riders? 27.
27.
Yeah, I was about to say 30.
Yeah, I mean, so guys, this has been no joke. I got a lot of stress in my life.
I couldn't do it.
And then I got to fly to Switzerland to just ace this test.
I love this in this day and age. There's no way of doing that remotely.
No. You got to
fly to Switzerland.
To be fair, I'm going to UCI headquarters. The exam supposedly happens inside the velodrome, so they're going to set up all the tables. They're going to do the thing.
How intimidating is that?
I mean, I still have to fly to Switzerland. So, guys, I'm sorry, I've got to roll. I cannot wait for next week's show. Thank you very much.
Nice to chat, guys. Good luck with your exam, Pat.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
See you boys soon. Bye.